Man, my voice is raw. I made a bunch of videos today. Some I posted, some I got into the tank. I said, man, I'm not going to do nothing. I'm going to watch wrestling, chill my voice, and just look at some things on X. I jump on X, and I see Jessica Alba and Cash Warren headed for divorce. I was like, oh my God. They've been together since 2007. George W. Bush era. That's a long time. That's like 18 years. Man, I wonder what happened. They said they're both out, they're not winning wedding. They both took off their wedding rings. The last time people saw them together, they were at Crypto Arena. I guess they went to see a Lakers game back in November. Because I remember Jessica would go to Lakers games and things like that with Cash. And since then, something bad must have happened from that Lakers game to today. Or probably like a few months ago. Something happened. I guess we'll find out sooner than later. News kind of travels fast. So they met in 2004. That's when Jessica was filming Fantastic Four. And it's funny because we got the new Fantastic Four film coming out in 2025. So they met on the set of Fantastic Four. Cash Warren was a director's assistant. Damn it. I should have moved out to Cali back in the day. I could have been Mr. Jessica Alba. No, I wouldn't. No, I don't look like Cash. That wouldn't have happened. And he was the director's assistant. They got, they got together. They dated. I remember when they first got together, I said, who's Cash Warren? I don't know him. I knew his dad. Like his dad is Michael Warren. Michael Warren was an actor. He's retired now. He was on Hill Street Blues. He was Officer Bobby Hill, I think. And he also played at UCLA with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So when Kareem won, I think like 2 of those championships that Kareem won, his father, Michael Warren, was on that team. So I knew Cash Warren's dad. I just didn't know who Cash was. I was like, hey, man, he's a good looking dude. I can see why he got her. So they got together. They got married in 2007. They got like 3 teenage kids, I think. I think maybe one's a 12-year-old, but they got 2 teenage kids. That gotta be bad. Like there was a point where I remember I thought like my parents were going to get divorced. They didn't, but it felt that way at one point. And I was a teenager. Then. I was maybe 13, 14 years old. So yeah, that would have been devastating to me because I love my parents, And I was like, please don't get divorced. I did the whole thing. It's crazy. They still stuck it out. They probably hate my ass for it. You're fucking. We started together because of you. Sorry, mom and dad. Sorry. But yeah, man. So yeah, that's gonna be hard on the kids. I read this thing recently because I was gonna make a video about it, but I didn't get around to it. The first working Monday of every January, when people go back to work after the holiday, it's called Divorce Day. And that's where a bunch of divorce filings happen. And that seemed like the case here. So it seems like when these things happen, 2 people decide and they say, well, let's just have one final Christmas together, like Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. Let's just have one great holiday together with the kids. And then next year we'll go through this business. It's a very adult way of doing it. Usually it's not that adult because I remember when my friends or weddings I went to, I remember when people started getting divorced. At first, it was women that I knew. I mean, if husbands would cheat on them, it would be devastating, right? There was one couple I remember when they got divorced, it was pretty clean. But everybody else, it was horrible. Like, so at first it was like my female friends, they would get divorced and the guy would cheat and they were crying and they would be angry and want to kill the guy. And it was bad. I felt bad for them. But then I started seeing the reverse. I started seeing dudes that I knew getting a divorce and they didn't file. It was their wives. And they say, man, I had a great dinner. We was having a good time. And then next thing I know, everything was cleaned out when I came home from work. Or they said, oh, everything was fine. She cooked the meal. It was good. And the next thing I know, I could serve divorce papers. That's almost like, at least if you plan it out, say, hey, we're going to do this for the kids and then we'll get divorced in the first of the year. That's one thing. But man, when you're totally blindsided by the divorce, that's crazy. But 70% of the time, the people who file for divorce are women. And this is true. This is not some made up fact. Look it up. 70% of the time, the people who file for divorce are women. And even if a guy wants to get divorced, most guys don't do it because economically the guy will end up losing. It doesn't matter if she files or he files. Usually the guy who's the breadwinner most of the time, he's the one who got to pay. She could be the one cheating in the marriage and he still has to pay. The judge might say, yeah, she did cheat, bruh, but you making a lot of money. I wish I could help you out, but I can't. But that's how that goes. Whoever makes the most money gotta pay. Now, if your salaries are kind of equal, then you might be able to get out of the alimony, maybe. But then if you got kids, then you got to pay alimony. I mean, you got to pay child support. It's kind of interesting when I hear like Mary J. Blige and Toni Braxton, and they were boo-hooing about paying alimony. It's like, that's how this thing works, man. Law should have been changed a long time ago. Back in the day, like when people started getting divorced, like in the late 60s or in the 60s and the 70s, 80s, like it was totally different. There's a lot of women who were stay-at-home moms, and a guy might leave them, and the woman at that point maybe didn't have that many skills, or she had maybe actually enough skills to work at a store or maybe as a secretary, but wasn't making that much money. So it made a lot of sense back then where the judge say, okay, well, you got to give her half the money. She stayed at home, took care of the kids. You're the breadwinner. You're the breadwinner. She really doesn't have any job skills like you do. So the chance of her making as much money as you is not going to happen. But today, a lot of women there's more money, women than men in the workforce. So they're equally making a lot of money. So I just think from across the board, there should be a cap on alimony. It shouldn't be 50%. It should be about capped out around 35%. Now, again, if the person is a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad, they took care of the kids, they don't have any type of job skill at all, that's a little bit different. That's a little bit different. Their job was raising the kids and cooking and all that stuff. That's a little bit different. But most times, that's not the case anymore. So if it's 25 to 35%, I think that's kind of fair. There's no reason that someone's worked so hard all their life and to make all this money. And it's like, no, I want half your cash. I want half Eddie. That's not fair. And I do wonder here if Jessica Alba and Cash have a prenup. I don't know. Because when they got together, Jessica was pretty young. Like she was still young and just, she probably believed in love and all that stuff. And again, she was a working actress. So unless she was forward thinking at that time, there might not be a prenup. Because Jessica Alba, she was a working actress. She did stuff. But then after a while, she started getting into business and she's made far more money in business. Like when she acts now, it's almost like, it's like she wants to act. She doesn't have to act because she's made so much money on the business end. But because of that, that came years after they've gotten married. So I do wonder if there's a prenup involved, like a postnup. They got those postnups, right? And I wonder if Cash is going to go after her for alimony. This thing might not be over. Like whatever happened was so severe. It was like boom, boom. They were together at the Laker game and now they're apart. So, and maybe, listen, man, maybe they just, like they got together in 2004. They've been together for like what, 20 years? If they wanted to get divorced, so that's 20 years right there. Maybe he just ran his course. I don't know. Something caused them to split. And I'm here for it. So dudes, if you ever wanted to date Dark Angel, Honey, Invisible Girl from the 2004, 2005 Fantastic Four, she's on the market. I don't think she's going to be on the market long. I'm sure there's a lot of guys in LA who want to date Jessica Alba. So, but hey, man, shoot your shot. Man, I wonder what happened.